Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Absolutely Podcast, the podcast specifically designed to help women defeat diet culture and to live their dream healthy lifestyle. On today's episode, I'm going to be talking about your healthy habits and why they actually might be keeping you stuck. Because I can't even tell you how many women I have talked to that have been working out, eating healthy, sleeping, getting their water in, and they're still not seeing progress. And sometimes when I'm doing an audit of everything that they are doing, that maybe they're checking off the box of working out, they're checking off the box of eating healthy or quote unquote healthy, but when we actually look at what you're doing, it's actually the wrong thing for the physical results of what you want to see. So I'm going to be talking about some of these healthy habits that actually might be holding you back. And these might be things that you might have deemed in the past as healthy as well, like ordering the salad, having the smoothie, having clean snacks, or skipping meals to quote unquote like be good, working out consistently, but you're still stuck. You're still just completely unmotivated, not seeing fat loss. So today I'm going to be breaking down what those habits are and how to replace them with better habits that are actually going to get you rock solid results and get you feeling confident and amazing and high energy and all of the things. So that's going to be today's episode. But before I go into that, I'm going to be talking about my weekly recap and going into some of the fun things that happened this last week. So this last week, I was actually in Mexico. I was in Cabo, which was super fun. I decided to go for just a few days, just for a little getaway trip. It's actually so easy to get there from Arizona. So it's kind of my go-to spot if you've been around here for a second, but was super excited to go to that. And honestly, it was just a pretty like low key, but also at the same time, like back-to-back week because I went down there. I didn't take the week off of work or anything. The great thing about what I do for a living is that I can take my computer and work wherever I want. So kind of had a good amount of that like work and play balance. So in the mornings, got my client check-ins done, did a little bit of work. And then in the afternoons, did some fun stuff. So the first day we got there, we had food. Oh my gosh, the food down there, by the way, is just so good. I am like obsessed with fish. I consumed so much fish this week. It was actually insane. And I feel like down there, it's pretty easy as well to eat healthy and like just feel good. And so I ordered a lot of fish. I had some skinny margaritas. I had some Aperol spritzes. It was a great time. But I had a few days doing that. I went golfing a few of the days as well. So that was super fun. I golfed every day just because I'm honestly just like obsessed with it. And it is a good form of movement as well and just like something to go do. So went and golfed a few of the days. And this is like my low of the week is I got completely scorched one of the days. I have never done this before. I'm very type A. I don't really forget things very often. So when I do, it's quite jarring. So what happened is I was getting ready in the morning. I was kind of just running around with my head, like a chicken with their head cut off. And I was trying to get my work done and I was trying to eat and take my supplements and do all my stuff. And so got a little bit sidetracked and somebody forgot to put sunscreen on. And so we're on hole 6 and I look at my mom and I go, oh my gosh, I forgot to put sunscreen on. And so I thought I was fine because I looked at my skin and I wasn't red. So I was like, okay, it's okay. I caught it at the right time. We're going to be okay. But little did I know, it was a UV 11 when I was there. I don't even know if 11 exists. Maybe it was a UV 10, but it was a very high UV. And I, at the end of the day, look at my arm and it's literally bright red. And it was one of those sunburns that people like would come up to me and be like, are you okay? I see that sunburn. Oh my gosh, that's so bad. Does that hurt? And I hate getting attention like that. Like, don't tell me if I have a sunburn. Like, I know I have a sunburn. You don't have to tell me I have a sunburn. So now I have I already had a bad golf tan before, but now it's just on a completely different level. And so that's going to be something I'm going to have to decide how to get rid of that. Maybe a little bit of self tanner, maybe something needs to happen because it's looking pretty crispy. And I mean, if you're watching this video today, I look tan, but it was literally bright red. Like it was lobster red. And I took the cutest photos. I got the cutest dress from Revolve. I was so excited to wear it. And all you could see in the photos was just this bright red sunburn. And I never get sunburned because again, like I don't forget to put on sunscreen. And for some reason, this day I forgot to put on sunscreen. I literally have never forgot to put on sunscreen for anything in my life. Like for some reason, it just slipped my mind. And you know what? It's okay. It's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to sometimes mess up. And that was my little mess up of the trip. But what I was going to say before kind of like recapping the rest of the trip was I realized I didn't have sunscreen on. I was spraying on sunscreen. And then our golf cart got stuck because we got too close to an area that we shouldn't be driving in. And for some reason, it wouldn't reverse out of the area. Like it completely, the governor on it completely just stalled the golf cart. And so my mom and I looked at each other and we're like, we're going to have to push this because there's no way we're getting out of this. So I go to push the golf cart and it's pretty much just like a really heavy sled pull. Like I can do this. Like I can push and pull a sled. Like we're going to be fine. Fit Abby is here. And so I get out of the cart. I like think I'm all cool, go to like push the cart up and the grass was wet. You guys, I face planted onto the ground and it made the funniest noise. It was just like thump and I disappeared. And I got grass burn on my elbows and my knees. This is right after me discovering I like was gonna get sunburned. So anyways, that was fun. That was like such a funny part of the trip. And my sister kept calling me rug burn because I was trying with all my might to push this cart up the hill like a sled. And that's what I get. And my legs just gave out underneath me and I slipped and fell. So that was a really fun part of the trip. But the rest of the day we hung out. We went to this like really fun little like beach club area and hung out, got some food and had some drinks and stuff. I was there with my sister and some of my parents' friends, and they're just like all so fun and funny. We literally laughed so hard this trip. Like, there's nothing better than a trip just full of inside jokes. And that was this trip. Like, if you missed 5 minutes of the conversation, you missed out on 5 inside jokes. And so it was one of those times where you had to be ready and ready to receive those jokes the whole trip. And yeah, it was just really relaxing and it was such a fun time. So that's kind of the only eventful stuff that happened. But it was a really good few days. I needed that just to kind of get away for a second and practice my work from home mobility and my just being able to be free. So that was this last week. And I think that now we can probably get into the podcast and some of these healthy habits that are keeping you stuck. So the first thing that we need to talk about when it comes to healthy habits that are keeping you stuck is that healthy does not equal effective for fat loss or some of these body composition goals. And when we've been taught about healthy is really defined based on the individual. And it is very interesting. I have for sure figured out that when I'm talking to women, some people, their definition of healthy looks completely different to other women. And so when it comes to healthy, I don't think it's necessarily like the best term to judge whether healthy is going to get you the results of getting lean and toned or whatever your goals are. And so most women, what I find when they are saying healthy is they are eating clean, they're maybe doing workouts, but potentially like random workouts, they're avoiding bad foods, and they're a lot of times missing the structure, they're missing the consistency, and they're missing actually like adequately fueling their body and doing the right workouts for the physique goals that they want. And so you definitely don't have like a motivation problem if you're someone that is like being healthy, like you're motivated, you're doing the things. You more so have a strategy problem. And so that is the main thing we're going to be focusing on today of how to fix that strategy problem. So here are the 5 habits pretty much that I see that are keeping you stuck in your ways and in your current body. So number 1 is eating clean. This is the biggest trap that I see for sure, because what does eating clean even mean? Like, I've talked to women, they're like, well, I'm eating clean. I'm having all salads. I am just having foods that say high protein on them. And then I look at their diet and they're eating all protein bars. They're eating salads, but coating it in a bunch of ranch. Like, they're doing things that are not advantageous to their goals. So I think we have to redefine like what eating clean is and kind of take the term eating clean out of our vocabulary, because just because you're eating clean doesn't mean you're eating the right amount for your body. And so where I find a lot of women mess up is that they're eating clean based on what society has taught us of order the salad, have a low calorie meal, have a smoothie. And those actually are probably not the best options for getting you to your goals. Whereas if a woman actually has the proper amount of calories for fat loss, or they have the proper amount of calories for body recomposition, that is going to get them to their goals a lot more effectively. Let me talk about salads, smoothies, this stuff that we think is healthy. So, one situation, a lot of women, they come to me and they say, well, I'm eating healthy. And then I look and they're having a salad that's coated with, like, again, nothing bad about ranch, but if you're getting a salad and you're drenching it in ranch, you have bacon on it, you have cheese, you have avocado, like that salad could maybe equal up to 1,000 calories. And that's fine from time to time. Like, you can definitely have that. I personally would rather have a burger than have 1,000 calorie salad. That's just me. But if you don't understand nutrition and you're just having these things that are really high calorie and you think that they're healthy, it's going to make it really hard to get to your goals because you're going to constantly feel like you're eating healthy but not seeing results because you don't understand nutrition and how that is factoring into the equation. So same thing with like a smoothie or an acai bowl. I see that a ton with acai bowls, is that you think you're eating healthy when you look at the nutrition facts and that one acai bowl was 1,000 calories and like 80 grams of sugar or something crazy. And so I would really encourage you to get educated around nutrition, especially with maybe having times where you're experimenting with tracking your calories or tracking your macros because you understand nutrition a lot better. And you'll probably look at the salad a lot different, or you'll look at a low calorie meal a lot different, or you'll look at the smoothie a lot different because you're like, wow, I would rather have a burger for 800 calories than have an acai bowl for 800 calories. And it really allows your body to and your mind to look at foods in a different light and to know what goals are or what foods are maybe a little bit more advantageous for your goals and what foods are maybe not as advantageous for your goals. Same thing goes for low calorie meals. A lot of women will eat a meal and then feel hungry instantly after. And it's like, babe, it's because you just ate a 200 calorie meal. Like that is not a meal, that is a snack. And so if you can actually build meals that are more sustaining for your body and not always just like be choosing the lower calorie option, it can be very helpful for you to actually stay full, to balance your blood sugar, to actually reach your goals a lot quicker because you're not just choosing the lower calorie option all the time. So what I would do is encourage you to find a healthy amount of calories for you. This is what I do with all my clients is I do a metabolic assessment, see where their metabolism is at, look at what their goals are, and then really curate the calorie and macro amount for where their bodies are at. If you're someone that's like, okay, I can't maybe afford coaching right now, you can definitely DM me and I can help you out with leading you in the right direction, just because some macro trackers out there or some calorie counters or amounts that pop out are literally outrageous and they don't take into account a lot of things. And so it's really important to make sure you're getting the right amount of calories because you could be tracking calories and not really seeing that progress that you want even with doing this. But if you have the right amount of calories, you have the right person you're working with, it makes it a lot easier to know how to eat and fuel your body and stuff. So you want to make sure that you're having the right amount of calories. And I would say also too, just focusing on having high protein meals along with those calories that are actually good for your body, I think is a good way of looking at it rather than trying to eat clean. I, as a rule of thumb for myself, like to eat 80% whole foods, 20% processed foods. This allows me to be eating mostly foods that are nutrient dense, and that gives me energy. That helps me to not overeat. That helps me to eliminate a lot of cravings and to actually like fuel my body, and it makes me feel my best and my most energetic. And also allows me to live my life with that 20% of like being able to go on vacation and being able to go out to dinner and being able to have these things that maybe are some, deemed unhealthy, but it should be that balance. Because if you're constantly eating foods that you don't like, if you're constantly saying no to things, like you're going to rebound and you're going to want to have these foods in excess. And that is what's going to cause you to for sure not see progress because you're so sick and fed up of being restricted and then you go off the rails. And so I definitely think, it's not about eating less. It's not about cutting things out. It's actually about eating correctly for your body. And so that is a major one that I find a lot of women get stuck with. The next thing is also nutrition related, but it's about skipping meals or under eating throughout the day. If I hear one more person saying, oh my gosh, I just didn't eat today, or I never have breakfast, I'm just not hungry for breakfast, or oh wow, I just like only had a 200 calorie snack in the morning. If I hear one more person say that, I'm literally gonna freak out because that's just going to lead you in a cycle of under eating and then overeating. Your blood sugar is going to be all over the place. Your body is not going to be happy and it's not going to be primed to see the results that you want to see. This is going to set you up for evening hunger, loss of control at night. And really, like when a lot of people come to me and they think that their nighttime eating is the issue, it's really not the issue. It's their daytime eating because they're maybe not eating all day. Their blood sugar is telling them, I'm not safe. I need to binge eat in the nighttime because I haven't eaten enough throughout the day. Like, of course, your body's going to want to counteract that. And so I definitely recommend having 3 to 5 balanced meals throughout the course of the day, especially for women. If you are trying to have healthy, happy hormones, eating within a couple hours of waking is so important. I personally don't think the intermittent fasting is very good for women just because of their hormones and their stress levels. And so I would really recommend that you eat a meal within that 2 hour window of waking that has a carb, has a fat, has a protein source, purely for the blood sugar regulation aspect of things. And so that is what I would do if I just had no really concept of like when to eat, how to eat. And going back to well, I'm just not hungry for breakfast. The reason you're not hungry for breakfast is that your body has pretty much been trained to not eat breakfast and it stops making those hunger hormones. Or maybe you are very stressed, you're having coffee on an empty stomach. Like, of course, your body is not going to want to eat. And so a lot of people think it's a good thing that they don't want breakfast or that they're saving calories, when in reality, it's probably not very good for them long term, especially from a more hormonal standpoint. And so I would for sure recommend you to be eating breakfast within, a couple hours of waking. But if we're not really eating, if we're having coffee for breakfast, if we're having a light lunch or a snack, or we're working through the day and we're not taking a lunch break and we're not utilizing fuel properly, of course you're going to be upset when you're not seeing results. But it's because you aren't doing the things your body needs to in order to feel safe. And so if we can fuel throughout the day, set those timers, do what you need to do, it really helps a lot of women. And I mean, I work with a lot of girls that are under eating or chronic undereaters. And once we start eating more food, that actually is the catalyst for them actually making more progress. And so a lot of my clients that are maybe in the beauty industry, or they're in industries where maybe they're not able to kind of take like a set lunch, like they do take a hit from their stress level standpoint because they aren't able to properly fuel throughout the day. And then once we start actually increasing their calories, having a little bit more boundaries around food and work timing, it really helps them. And so that is just something to notice, is that skipping meals, under eating throughout the day does not mean you're going to make progress. It does not mean you're going to lose weight. It might just be an extra stressor on your body that your body truly doesn't. The next healthy habit that is causing you to not make progress is over relying on workouts. So, a lot of times we can kind of create this image in your brain of, if I worked out, then I can eat whatever I want. And that is just not the case. I am sure you've seen the graphic. I feel like I was traumatized by this when I was little, of this is how many football fields you would need to run in order to burn off one Kit Kat. Like, I'm sure you've seen that. But it is true to a certain aspect that it takes a lot longer to burn calories than it does to eat them. Like, you can eat 1,000 calories by sipping down a smoothie in 10 minutes, whereas working out and burning calories takes a long time. And so I would really recommend looking at your nutrition, making sure your nutrition's in check, having the calorie amount for your body, all the things I talked about in point one. But when it comes to workouts, I would really try to remove some of that verbiage from your head of working out is going to be my main fat loss driver. Well, for instance, some people, yes, in the beginning, if the only thing they change is working out for a little bit, you might see some progress, which is great, but you're probably going to stall a lot quicker than you would like to. And so it's so important to look at nutrition and not only use workouts as a fat loss driver, especially too, because we can kind of make this image up in our head of, well, I worked out, so now I can eat whatever I want. And then you ended up actually eating more food. Then that actually causes you to make less progress / gain weight. You have to understand the nutrition structure and what the role is that it plays. It's one common question I get asked a lot is, well, how much of a percent is it nutrition versus working out? And I wouldn't say it's like a percentage thing. I would say you have to be all in with nutrition. You have to be all in with working out. You can't really have one without the other if you want to have body composition changes. And that doesn't mean you need to be perfect, but you do need to be all in with both of them most of the time in order to make that progress. Drive it, I would say, mostly drives fat loss. And I mean, I've had clients that don't work out at all. We only work on nutrition, and that causes them to lose weight. So it is kind of a tricky subject. I know it's annoying. And of course, working out is going to give you a little bit more of a calorie buffer. Like if you are working out versus not working out, like of course you're going to have a little bit more calories to work with, but we really have to address nutrition and know that working out isn't going to be like the main problem solver for wanting to make progress. So the next thing that is driving you to not make progress is avoiding foods instead of learning balance. So I kind of talked about this a little bit when we talked about calories and stuff and just overall like good and bad foods, but it's really important to not label foods as good versus bad or be like, okay, well, I'm not having bad foods today. I'm only having good foods, because that's just going to lead to a poor relationship with food and to that like restrict binge cycle. And so instead, if we can kind of be okay with that gray area of eating healthy 80% of the time and 20% having those foods that maybe are a little bit less nutrient dense, I think that that's kind of a perfect storm for you. That way you can enjoy your favorite foods and you're not falling victim to that binge or restrict cycle, or the second you go on vacation, you're like, I am going to have all of these different foods. I'm going to completely go off the rails because I haven't had pizza in 6 months, because I haven't had this in 6 months. So I'm just going to eat everything. Like that's not a fun spot to be in. And so I really recommend not deeming things as good or bad. Like food doesn't have an emotion. We forget that. Food does not have any emotion. It is something though that we have to understand the role like a less nutrient dense or a more nutrient dense food plays into your day. And so the goal like isn't perfection, it is control. And if we can control what we are eating and understand like, okay, we don't need to allow this to completely destroy our day and be this thing that drives us to insanity and we want to just binge it. Like that's of course not healthy and not going to make you feel super great. And so if you're someone that does tend to go overboard on bad foods, I would look at, well, what does like the majority of my time look like? Am I allowing myself these foods on the weeks that I want to work on my health and fitness goals? I mean, for me at least, like how I incorporate this is on the weekends, I'll have maybe 1 to 2 meals out where maybe I'm not eating like my normal foods that I typically have. Maybe I'll have a drink. And then but from a daily perspective, like I'm not saying no to myself. Like if I'm really craving something, I'm probably just going to have it or make a healthy version of it. For instance, if I want a burger, maybe at home I'll make homemade burgers, or I'll just like go out and get one. Like I don't think about it as much because I'm using it as part of that 20%. Like I'm not trying to be perfect 100% of the time. I'm just trying to be consistent most of the time. And that really is going to be what gets you progress, gets you results, and also causes you to not completely lose your mind when it comes to health and fitness. And then the next healthy habit that I've been talking about a lot, which is balance, but the wrong definition of balance is definitely going to cause you to not see results. So what this is kind of leading to is inconsistency disguised as balance, because you don't really know what balance means. So you tell yourself, well, I'm so good during the week. I'm hitting my 1,200 calorie goal. I'm doing all my workouts. I'm getting my steps in. Then Friday comes and I'm eating a whole pizza. I'm drinking a bottle of wine. And then come Saturday, I already kind of messed up on Friday, so I might as well go out to eat again. I'll DoorDash for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I'm not going to work out. Then Sunday, you're like, okay, I feel like crap. I'll just start over tomorrow. And you do the same thing. And of course, that's not going to make you feel good. And that is 3 out of your 7 days. Like that is almost half of your week that is spent doing unhealthy habits. And so you're not inconsistent because you are lacking discipline necessarily. You're inconsistent because your plan isn't sustainable, because Monday through Thursday, your plan you hate so much that it drives you to go crazy over the weekend. And so instead, if we can have a little bit more balance during the week, like I talked about, like avoiding maybe some of these like good or bad foods and not having that mentality, you're probably going to feel a lot better come the weekends. You're going to be a lot more consistent come the weekends. On the weekends, I still have a lot of my healthy routines in place. Like I'm still getting my steps in. I'm still getting my workouts in. I'm getting my steps in. I'm eating out, but maybe like 1 or 2 times. I am still trying to hit my protein goals. Like there's a lot of habits that still stay rock solid, even on the weekends. And a lot of people feel like they have this construct of the weekends that needs to be this just like crazy food fest because they are so restrictive during the week. And so if we can eliminate some of that restriction during the week, on the weekends, you're not going to feel that need to go completely off the walls because you're not driving yourself to insanity. I think that that was the biggest thing when it came to my weekends, changing my outlook around it. And of course, like having a meal or two out is okay. Like you should be able to live your life. You should be able to do those things. But if you're allowing it to completely derail you, that's something you should definitely look at and be mindful of, that that's something that could for sure be affecting your progress. So just to kind of sum up what I just chatted about, but here's what actually works and the things that are going to actually produce results when it comes to your health and fitness goals. And so number one, structured nutrition, not just guessing. I would definitely get a really good calorie source of like how much you should be eating. So that way you at least even know like what the ballpark would look like. And bonus points if you get some structured macros on that. Number two is focused on protein focused meals, even if you don't have macros that include protein yet. Having protein focused meals is going to be really helpful for blood sugar, muscle building, a lot of different positive things, of course, that protein does: satiety, fat loss. Protein is obviously the best macronutrient, in my opinion, for results. The next thing is consistent intake throughout the week. We don't want to be having these crazy highs and lows. We don't want to be eating super calorie Monday through Thursday and then binging Saturday, Sunday, Friday. So if we can have a consistent amount of calories over the course of the week and be incorporating foods that are more nutrient dense, less nutrient dense, thinking about it as that 80-20 method, having that real life flexibility, not restricting your food, that's going to be really important. And then also having training that supports you for your goals, like strength training, but not using it as something that is going to outwork your bad diet. Like we have to look at training as something that is like that extra credit of what's going to build the shape, build the muscle, be something that is really good for your heart, and not something that's making up for food intake or just because you're working out means that you can eat whatever you want. Like that is not the case. So that's what I would focus on. That's what I do focus on with my clients when it comes to coaching them through some of these things, because they come to me maybe having some of these healthy habits, but they're just like doing the wrong thing for their body, or they're doing things that society has taught us that is healthy, but it's actually disguised and not healthy. It's an epidemic out there where people are marketing items as healthy when they're really not. And so I would always look at something that is marketed as health conscious and forward and look at it with a little bit of skepticism, because a lot of these things, they will actually just upcharge you. Like if you look at a lot of like the healthy foods in the grocery store, not like the produce and stuff, but like the packaged healthy foods like protein bars, chips, and different things that are deemed as like healthier options, they're probably more expensive. And a lot of times they're just as bad as the things that are not healthy. And so again, I would always look at it with a little bit of skepticism. Ask your favorite fitness knowledgeable people if these things are actually gimmicky or you're wasting your money on, because they're preying off of people that don't know what is healthy and what's not healthy. And so there's my rant for the day on that, but it is really true that the healthy markup is a real thing. So right now, if you want to do a little like healthy habit reset and you're listening to this and you're like, well, where do I even start? This is where I would start. So number one, I would eat 3 to 4 structured meals a day, Monday through Sunday, the entire week. We don't need to be having these crazy times where we're skipping meals, not having breakfast, not having lunch, not having dinner. Even if you're working, even on the weekends, I would really recommend having 3 to 4 meals a day at least. The next thing I would do is have a protein source at each one of those days. We can kind of get into the weeds as far as like how much protein or whatever. I think for now, just having one source of protein with your meal is a good place to start. The next thing, stop skipping meals. Having the 3 to 4 meals per day should help you to stop skipping meals. So that kind of works with that one. And then also keep the weekends within range, but don't try to be perfect. Again, that 80-20 method, I think, is a good place to start. And a lot of people, the reason why I put this as one of the main reset things is because most people's progress is being lost over the weekend. And so if we can really get those weekends more within range, again, not perfect, not skipping out on social events, but just a little bit better, like 1% better habits are so important. And it doesn't mean you need to like completely overhaul your life and be like, oh my gosh, what I'm doing isn't working, I'm going to go to extremes. Like that's not what I'm saying. 1% better, we have to quietly fix what's not working. Like it doesn't matter if we completely overhaul your life overnight, because that's just going to lead to more unhealthy habits. And so that is what I would recommend for you. It's not that you're not trying, it's that you've been taught the wrong things. We can't fault ourselves for that. And most women stay stuck for years because they're focusing on bad fitness advice. They're focusing on bad healthy habits that have been picked up throughout the years. And so I hope that you took something from this episode. And of course, if you ever want a personalized plan on healthy habits that actually work for your body and your body composition goals, feel free to DM me and we can chat a little bit more to see if the metabolic makeover is right for you. But make sure to like, comment, subscribe, whatever platform you are on, and I will chat with you all next week. Bye.